Okay, this is going to be the math 1088, page 47 and 48. This is the third checkup in the book. So I'm going to go through a lot of these concepts pretty quickly because it is just basic information. There's nothing too difficult about it. All right. So number one here, I'm going to take this that's on the outside and I'm going to multiply it by everything on the inside. Okay, so step one is negative 5x to the third times 6x squared. Negative 5x to the third times 6x squared. So negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. X to the third times x squared is x to the fifth. Why is it x to the fifth? Because x to the third plus 2. When you multiply variables, you add their exponents. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is negative 5 times negative 2. Negative 5x to the third times negative 2. There's a negative right there in the middle, so I have to take it into consideration. So negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. And then I have my x to the third. That's your answer. Okay. Moving on to number 5. You should be able to do 1 and 2 based off of what I just did with number 3. I'm going to move on to number 5. It's a little bit more complicated than the other ones. It's extra steps than the other ones. So I'll do 5 and I'll do 9. But then you should be able to do the other ones on your own, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first term and I'm going to multiply it by everything on the top. First term in the bottom, multiply it by everything on top. So 3x times 2x squared is 6x to the third. 3x times positive 3x is positive 9x squared. And then 3x times negative 6x is negative 18x. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move over to my second column. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to multiply everything on the top by that 4. So 4 times 2 is 8. And then I bring down my x squared. I move over, I just keep it in line with what it's like. So x squared and x squared. So positive 4 times positive 3x squared, 3x, I'm sorry, gives me 12x. And then positive 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Now I'm going to combine like terms. I just bring that 6x to the third down because there's nothing like it. All right, I'm going to add my 9 and my 8. It's going to give me positive 17. Bring down my x squared. Then I have negative 18 and 12. Remember, when your signs are different and you're adding, you subtract them and apply the sign of the bigger number. So 18 minus 12 is 6, and I'm doing a negative because the 18 has a negative. And then bring down that 24. And that is your answer for number 5. Again, super easy, nothing too complicated with it. It just looks busy because all the letters that you see in there. Okay, so then number 9, I'm going to do it for you. You have 2x squared minus x and negative 2x minus 5. And I'm going to multiply these together. All right, so I'm going to take my first term on bottom and I'm going to multiply it by both on top. So negative 2 times 2 is negative 4x to the third. Negative 2 times negative x is positive 2x squared. It's positive because a negative times a negative makes a positive. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with my other problem. I got negative 5 times 2, which is negative 10, and then bring my x squared, and negative 5 times x, which is going to give me positive 5x. Okay, and then I'm going to combine like terms. I have negative 4x to the third, 2 minus 10. Remember, I just subtract them and apply the sign of the bigger. So negative 8x squared, and then bring down that positive 5x. All right, you should be able to do the rest of those on your own. We're going to move on. So number 10 is 51x y to the third divided by 3xy. Okay, so you're just going to divide the things that are the same. So 51 divided by 3, 17. X divided by x, it ends up being 1. Y to the third divided by y gives me y squared. All right, so number 11, you have negative 35x squared y to the fourth divided by negative 5x squared y. So remember, when you're dividing and you have two negatives, it does become positive. If the signs are the same, it's positive. If the signs are different, it is negative. Okay, so let's do number 13. It changes it up a little bit. And it says x divided by, and it puts it in these radical signs. Okay, so what you do with these is you take that first term right there. Oh, sorry about that. Undo. Highlighter. There we go. You take the first term there and you divide it by the first term on the outside. In this case, you just have one term and it is x. So x squared divided by x squared y divided by x. So x squared divided by x gives me x. And there is no y, so the y just carries over. X, y. X, y. There we go. All right, so xy times x squared gives me x squared y. I'm subtracting, so that cancels, and I'm going to bring my negative 2x down. So again, we just take that negative 2x, we divide it by x, and we get negative 2. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. My answer is 0. So that right there is my answer. It's just like if you were to say 6 divided by 12. What is 6 divided by 12? 2. That's your answer. Same thing with this. Okay, let's go over and I'll do number 17. Okay, I have negative 3x squared. Oh, wait, let me move down a little bit. Negative 3x squared divided by 6x to the fifth minus 12x to the third y plus 3x squared y squared. All right, so I just take my first term and I'm divide it by what's on the outside. So 6x to the fifth divided by negative 3x squared. All right, so 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. X to the fifth divided by x squared is x to the third. Okay, so then you just multiply. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. X to the third times x squared is x to the fifth. You subtract, those cancel. Bring down my next term, which is negative 12x to the third y. So negative 12x to the third y divided by negative 3x squared. So what do I get? Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is positive 4. X to the third divided by x squared is x. And then I bring along my y. So when I multiply 4xy times negative 3x squared y, I'm going to get negative 12x to the third y. I'm subtracting, so that changes my sign to a positive, and those cancel. And I'm going to bring down my last term, 3x squared y squared. So 3x squared y squared divided by negative 3x squared. So the 3's cancel, leaving me with negative 1. The x's cancel, and I have y squared. So multiply y squared times negative 3x squared, and I get negative 3x squared y squared. Oh, that's supposed to be a positive. So I subtract, and it leaves me with 0. Okay? So then the word problems there, just read them completely through so that you can find what your problem is. But number 18, it says the larger of two numbers is 5 more than twice the smaller. Their difference is 13. Find the numbers. Okay? So I have the larger number equals 5 more, so more is plus, than 2 times the smaller. Okay? So the smaller is just going to be x. Their difference is 13. So their difference is going to be minus x. And that's going to equal 13. So 5 plus 2x minus x equals 13. So from here you just solve for x. So x is your, oh, I messed that up, sorry. Smaller number is going to be x. So your problem is set up like that. And then you just solve for x. Okay? You have 2 answers. You have an answer for the larger and an answer for the smaller. All right, so you try to figure out number 19 on your own, and then you can just score it and see if you got it right.